Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinna. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest where I live with my partner, our 2 kitties, and 2 adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wild Horse Adoption Program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon. Good morning, YouTube friends. Today is Friday, April 18th, 2025. It is about 6:10 in the morning, and I don't know if you can see out my window, but it's pretty light out, which is awesome. We've been having some glorious spring weather, kind of chilly in the morning. Yesterday was 39 degrees. I think it's warmer than that today. And in a high, often around 60. It's been, there's been, excuse me, a cold north wind. So every time I think that I should go outside in short sleeves, I kind of regret it. Well, let's get outside, put my boots on so we can make the walk out to the barn. I know I tried to show you that pink flowering plant, but I just don't think this camera has enough zoom on it, so I apologize for that. It's really beautiful. I'm gonna just take a walk up there so you can see it. One of the gardening things I did is I'm trying to extend this garden so it goes down the hills. It gets a lot of great sunlight and it's a pain to mow. So here is this beautiful, I think this is a red flowering currant. Beautiful. And hopefully all this stuff will grow up enough. There's a peony right there. Will grow up enough to cover up the propane tank. What are we going to talk about today? Because it's been so nice, I've been getting out on my bike. I rode Odin I don't remember what day that was. I will include some of that footage in this video at the end so you can, and it was for the Ryan Rose April challenge, his membership or Patreons. So I did that. Rode my bike 3 times, so not very long. I think 5 miles twice and 4 miles once, which is, you know, it's a little bit hilly around here, so that's fine. Of course, I did a lot of knitting. I'm keeping up on the float tote crochet along that's hosted by Knitty Natty. I think I will talk about a couple more podcasts that I watched. The knitting ones, I mentioned Arne and Carlos last week, and the Bakery Bears. This week I said I'd talk about Knit All the Yarn podcast because her podcast inspired me to start my own. And maybe I'll talk about fruity knitting as well, because that's a kind of the opposite of Knit All the Yarn podcast. Fruity knitting, if you're not familiar, is highly produced. It's a great, entertaining podcast, and they always encourage patrons. I am not a patron of that podcast. I have my favorites, of course. Hi, boys. There's no trailer loading lesson for Bragi today because my trainer is attending a horsemanship clinic. So Bragi gets a day off. Might try to ride O in the round pen. Anyway, that's what's going on this week. And I'll catch up with you soon. Hi, friends. Welcome to the knitting portion of my podcast. I have a few minor updates for you that I wanted to talk about. So I just dropped a couple things on the floor, and now Herbert's playing with it. So hopefully that noise isn't too much. And Harley's sitting right here, and he's getting interested in what Herbert's playing with. So it's kind of funny. Let's start out as usual. What am I wearing? I mentioned earlier that it's been very warm out, so it seems like it's t-shirt weather. So I have on, this is the Rocket Tee, which I have linked my Ravelry project page, and the picture you'll see is different than what I knitted, because I knitted this up, I took the picture, and then I decided that I wanted to do something different. So I frogged it. What the original pattern is stripes of fingering with mohair. I decided instead is that I was going to do my stripes. Well, first of all, I was going to hold the fingering weight with the mohair double, and then the stripes would be these little pearl rows. So I like it a lot better. I'd kind of forgotten about this tee because I can only really wear t-shirts a few months out of the year. So I have some, and then this one kind of got buried in my drawer, and I found it when I was rooting through it. I also knew that because it is still quite chilly out, that I wanted to wear a light cardigan over it. So this is mohair held with a plain sock yarn that I had recovered from a different project that I frogged. So this is kind of a theme for me. I should call myself the frogging queen, I suppose. And then re-knitting it. And then this is made from a cotton yarn from, I think, Knit Picks. It is a DK weight yarn, or maybe a sport weight. I don't quite remember. This cardigan is the Corran Cardigan, and it is by the Crayabea. Again, project notes. I have these handmade buttons that are just really too much for the sweater. And these buttons are kind of neat, but it's really hard to get the needle through the hole. So I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do this. So I'm probably going to remove these buttons, and I'm not sure because I have them secured with thread right now, but it's not really working for this sweater. I have my computer on over here just so that I and then it locks me out all the time, just so that I make sure that I'm staying on track. I also have a little list in a notebook here, so but it's kind of out of order. That was just sort of my stream of consciousness thinking during the week of what I was going to talk about. Anyway, the project pages are in my in the show notes. I admit I don't keep very detailed notes on my Ravelry project page, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later when I do get into the podcast review, because there is a podcaster who I think keeps great notes, and I'm a little bit inspired to do that. So let's talk about the works in progress. I still don't have any finished objects because I am working on so many projects. So I'm just going to share updates where I've made significant progress. I will mention that the branches socks and the Hermione's everyday socks, I am still on sock 2. I have started the heel flap though. Maybe I'll have at least one of them finished next week. I'm not sure. It just really depends. Sometimes it's just a lot slower going than I think it is. So I want to share with you, this is the Vine Tank by Seedling Stitch. I do have a project page started in that. This bag is a canvas tote from Viroqua Plastic Free. So Viroqua, Wisconsin. I got it at the Utopia, E-W-E, Topia, yarn store in Viroqua, Wisconsin. I want to say that's been at least 2 years, because I don't think we went anywhere. My mom, my sister, and I didn't go anywhere last year. Made a lot of progress on this vine tank. This is the front. So I am about, I would say, halfway finished with the body. So, and you'll notice that there is this nice detail around the neckline and around the arms, and under the arms is where that detail really is. I also want you to notice how well I am holding up my right arm with this. So for those of you who are new, first of all, welcome. I injured my shoulder very badly in January and have been rehabbing it through PT. I'll give you another update about that after I talk about this. The needles, I think, are a size 4, a US size 4. They are, am I right? They are Addy Classic. Sorry, they are 3.25 millimeters, so a size 3. The yarn is a repurposed yarn, so it is mostly in these little balls. It's a pale pink. I don't remember what the project was that I frogged, but it is a Comfort DK. It's a sport weight, and it is a Barocco yarn. So I doubt I'm even gonna get to these kind of whole skeins of yarn, or whole balls of yarn, and I have plenty of yarn in my scrap bag, so who knows what I'm gonna make for that next. And I still have this, I don't even remember what this was, quite honestly, to unravel, and then all of these little balls. Speaking of scrap yarn, if you follow Line Publishing, L-A-I-N-E, the 52 weeks of this or that, I have the 52 weeks of socks, and I think I have another 52 weeks of something, or maybe I checked the other 52 weeks of something out of the library and decided I didn't need it. It could have been the 52 weeks of scarves and shawls or something like that. Anyway, they have released a new one that's called 52 Weeks of Scraps. My library doesn't have it yet, and I do like to preview things these days since I'm being a lot more careful with purchasing and being a lot less compulsive. But anyway, I'm very tempted to buy that book since I have so many scraps, and I do repurpose my yarns frequently. Back to this project. Again, I have mentioned this before, that this pattern is fairly complex. It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't need to be this complex. I mean, what you do is that you knit the 2 panels, or the 4 panels for the front and the back are exactly the same. So you knit 2 left fronts and 2 right fronts, and then just attach them accordingly in the back. So in other words, for this one, this left front, attach it to the right front, and then you have what is a front and back. And same with this side. So the stitch pattern itself is fairly simple. It's kind of an I-cord, well, not kind of, it is an I-cord edging on all sides. Sorry, my arm is getting tired. And then it's a very simple it's twisted stitches and some very simple cabling in here. What makes it complex, I think, is the way that the pattern is written and where you start and stop. To me, the flow of it kind of doesn't matter where you start, because I think on the second side, the second panel, you're supposed to start with like row 7 or something like that. I'm not sure why. I honestly don't think it makes that much of a difference. The pattern, the cabling pattern is fairly repetitive, so in my mind you could pretty much start anywhere and probably would not notice. So I would just start with row 1 and not think about it too much. That is my advice. I may take, in my ideal world of updating my Ravelry project page, I will probably make that note. The other pattern progress I'm gonna show you is the float tote cowl. It's a crochet along, which I mentioned that Knitty Natty is hosting, and I will talk about her podcast today. So when I do the podcast review. So just to catch you up, these are yarn cups, and something just happened here. Okay, friends, we are back. So the float tote, this is a pattern by Knitty Natty. So this is a yarn cup, and the goal of this is to put your yarn cake in here to keep it organized. So the purpose of the float tote, as I understand it, is that you knit the yarn, or crochet the yarn cups, and this is for color work. So this is basically a mock-up of what the float tote's gonna look like, I think. So I have these 3 yarn cups that will go on this tray that I just finished this morning, this crochet tray. And the idea is that when you're doing color work, you put your yarn in these, your cakes in these, and then you turn it whenever you're using that color, and it helps keep your yarn organized. So I am keeping on track with this. It was my original goal to knit the 5 skein float tote, but I think I'm going to go with a 3. And part of it is that I don't think I ever knit with 5 balls of yarn. If I do, I'll just make more cups. That's easy enough. I have plenty of yarn. These cups attach with magnetic snaps. So this has been a really fun crochet along. I haven't crocheted very much since I started knitting, probably 12 or 13 years ago. So that's been really fun. So I'm going to start either today or tomorrow the actual bottom of the tote. So I don't know if you can hear Herbert playing with a little spray bottle of catnip, but I'm sure it's highly amusing to him. So if you are interested in this crochet along, you can still join. Just go to her channel or website and you can do that. It's free. You just have to buy the pattern. So, and this is just a kind of a beach bag. It just seemed like it would fit all the yarn, and I think I'm gonna have plenty of extra. It's a cotton yarn that I got from Michael's. So that is the knitting. I don't have any new cast-ons, of course, because it's kind of spring cleaning season, so I'm just trying to finish up what I have going on. What else? Okay, so the podcast. I said I would review Knit All the Yarn podcast. This podcast is hosted by a stay-at-home mom named Lisa who lives in Michigan. And I honestly don't know how I found her podcast, but I really appreciated the simplicity of it. Lisa is a highly motivated sock knitter, and so I wasn't particularly interested in knitting socks at the time that I started watching it. I have since found that sock knitting is kind of my go-to comfort knitting these days. She also knits a lot of blankets, and she really likes Stephen West shawls and often participates in the shawl knit-alongs that he hosts in the winter. Winter? No, fall. I think it's usually around October that he starts those. So I have been inspired by some of her patterns. She typically does vanilla socks, and it seems like she can knit like 3 pairs of socks a week, which is really impressive to me. I think that's how she spends her downtime when she doesn't have when her children are at school and she doesn't have any other responsibility she needs to take care of. And she probably knits really fast. I don't think I'm particularly that fast of a knitter. What I loved about her podcast is that they were basically unedited. And then I was like, oh, well, I can do that. And I do a little bit of editing because I appreciate a little editing. Hers is just such a routine. I don't think she really needs to do any editing. Mine, I'm sharing different aspects of my life, including horsemanship and bicycle riding and other things that there does need to be some sort of flow. So, and I misspeak all the time, and I catch myself, and sometimes I'm surprised when I say something that's like, no, that's not what I really mean. It isn't 2022, for instance, it's 2025. I know I have said something like that in the past. So, Knit All the Yarn podcast, the link is in my show notes. The other one that I initially started watching years ago was Fruity Knitting. And this is hosted by an Australian family living in Germany. And initially, it was a husband and wife team. And it's a highly produced podcast. And that's why I thought that all podcasts had to be highly produced with a lot of equipment and know-how in terms of editing and things like that. And then subsequently I found Lisa's Knit All the Yarn podcast, and I was like, oh, it doesn't have to be like that. Anyway, I started watching Fruity Knitting from the beginning when it was the husband and wife team. At some point after they started podcasting, and I can't really keep track of the years, the husband got really ill, and he passed away. He was a vibrant, healthy, active man, and ended up with an incurable condition that eventually took his life. Andrew was his name, and her name, Andrea. She went through her period of mourning and then carried on the podcast and has done that with her daughter, their daughter, since then. The daughter's name is Madeline. See, my computer turns off and then how do I know what I'm supposed to be talking about? So they produce a 90-minute program a couple times a month, typically, and they feature interviews and stories from all over the world. Some people contribute. They had Knitters of the World. I'm not sure they're doing that anymore. They have both of them, well, particularly Andrea, the mom. She is very particular about her garments. She knits garments, and she does it very well. She's a very skilled knitter, and is often making a lot of modifications. Her daughter is in her early 20s. She's a college graduate, recently engaged, and is a newer knitter, so gets a lot of help from Andrea when she needs it. She is also a skilled knitter. So it's a wonderful, entertaining podcast, and I love it. So the third one I want to talk about is Knitty Natty. I am fairly new to Knitty Natty, and her podcast is called Love in Stitches, which not to be redundant, but I love that. I was attracted to this podcast because she and her husband are young people, probably early 30s. And they were traveling around the U.S. in the van and visiting yarn shops and yarn festivals. And, that was the part about living in a van appealed to me very much. The yarn shows and yarn store tours weren't as interesting, but I really enjoyed their Jimmy Bean's yarn store tour because I have been a subscriber of some of the Jimmy Bean kits before. So that was probably the first yarn store tour I watched. And since then, they ended their U.S. travels and have been living with her parents in Tennessee and Nashville, I think. And I've really been enjoying her yarn organization, her finishing her projects, her pattern reviews, and things like that. So I'm actually considering becoming a member of her channel. Like I said, I have joined the Float Tote crochet along. She does typically garments. She did a brioche cowl recently and occasionally socks, and she does a lot of blankets. So I'm not much of a blanket knitter. My mom and sister and I crocheted, granny square crochet, a lot of blankets in the 70s, and I have done more zigzag crochet type blankets in the 80s and my own type blankets in the 80s, I think even 90s before I started knitting. So we have plenty of blankets. I do have a excuse me, a blanket on the needles that's hibernating right now. It is the Coziest Memories blanket by Kemper Ray, and I'll start working on that again eventually. It's just hibernating right now. So really enjoying Knitty Natty. In some ways, and I keep thinking about this, so I'm going to bring it up. I was watching The Crazy Sock Lady for a couple years and have gradually lost interest in that podcast. It was a lot more interesting to me when I first started watching it, and there was more kind of vlogs, like when they would go out to dinner, she and her husband, or with friends, and more. And I enjoyed her Vlogmas as well. I don't think she did Vlogmas last year, and I feel like her content has changed a lot in the last year, 6 months to a year, and it just hasn't been as appealing to me. So it's rare that I unsubscribe from a podcast, but I have unsubscribed. And again, she's primarily a sock knitter, and I already watch a sock knitter on YouTube. So Knitty Natty has become kind of that replacement video, and Knitty Natty does I would say about 2 podcasts a week, so that's kind of fun too. Herbert's coming over here. He's could possibly be messing up my table. I hope not. Everything that he wants is now on the floor. Yeah, you did a good job. I am going to move that notebook because I need it. So hopefully he won't get too rambunctious. And my computer turned off again. I apologize. I'm sure it's a setting I could change, but then you wouldn't get to see me turn around and restart my computer again. So I'm going to talk about 3 more podcasts. One horsemanship podcast, Eicher Ranch. I really enjoy. It's Eicher. It's a horseman in Texas who has very gentle and confident horsemanship skills. He is a connection to Ryan Rose, who I am a big fan of. And one of the series that I've been watching with Eicher Ranch is a rescue horse. It was a bucking stock horse, meaning that this horse was bred for being a bucking horse in rodeos. And this horse was rescued from a kill lot. And I'm sorry if that is triggering. It is triggering for me. It upsets me that, and you know this if you have been here before, that it upsets me when horses or any animal is really used as a commodity. And then when they are no longer useful, they are discarded in that way. Thank God, universe, goddess, whomever your higher power is, or even if you don't have one, that there are rescue organizations that have the gumption, the nerves, which I don't have, I'm kind of wimpy, that will go to these lots and rescue some of these horses. So this horse, Sierra, is extremely sensitive, extremely skeptical, and Mr. Eicher, because I can't remember his first name, Nate, maybe, has done this whole series on gentling this horse, even to pick up her feet so that she can have get her hooves trimmed, which are in badly need of trim. I'm not sure he's been able to do that yet, and it's been weeks that he has been featuring these videos of working with her. Super impressed with his horsemanship, and it gives me a lot of hope and heart that there are people out there like him who understand horses and what they need in order to succeed in our human world. So check it out if you like horsemanship. Horsemanship can be as interesting as watching paint dry because things move so incrementally, but I think these really skilled horsemen make it a lot more interesting. They tend to make a lot of progress in a short amount of time. Like they'll start in one place and the horse ends up learning a lot in a small space, in what appears to be a small space of time. There's also some very tender moments between Mr. Eicher, Nate, I think, and Sierra, when it looks like Sierra is finally accepting him, and that is just beautiful and heartwarming. So check that out if you like that kind of work. I have two garden ones. Garden Answer is hosted by and I don't even know what her name is, quite honestly. I've been watching her for a long time. She does video. Yes, she does video. Of course she does video. A daily vlog. So that's fun. I found her when I was trying to find out how to grow a lemon tree in the Pacific Northwest. And she is from Ontario, Oregon. So far eastern Oregon, Pacific Northwest, very different climate than here in the west side of the Pacific Northwest. But I really liked what she does, and she and her husband and her two small children have been developing this big plot of land with a lot of landscaping plants. She does a lot of landscaping plants. She has a tremendous amount of knowledge. Her parents own a garden center in Ontario, I believe, and she also does a lot of vegetable gardening too. So I watch it occasionally. I don't watch it daily. But it's fun that she has content for stuff daily. Yesterday I watched a video of one of the segments was planting onions. Another segment was making honey dandelion ice cream. So that was, it turned out it really wasn't to their liking so much, but it was fascinating. So that's really fun. Can really recommend that, especially if you have particular questions about landscape planning, how to grow, how to perpetuate strawberry plants, lots of good information if you like that sort of thing. And finally, the last one I have is Little Roots Ranch. It's one that I found pretty recently, and this farmer is local to my area, a young woman who has a lot of raised beds and a really big polytunnel. And I don't know if she's a market gardener or she just grows stuff to support her own family. Not really sure. She also has turkeys, and I don't know if they are for harvest or for eggs or what exactly that she does. I haven't watched it long enough. But she has a lot of great advice for planting stuff in this particular climate zone, which is 8B, I think. So we have a unique growing climate here. You know, we have very long daylight hours in the summer, but it's fairly cool and can be quite rainy. So that presents its own challenges with some of the plants and timing for planting things. For my own gardening, I am going to start, I think, undercover in that little fake greenhouse that you have seen before, which unfortunately fell over the other night. We had a kind of a big gust of wind, and Randy had kind of made it a little bit sturdier and then put some bricks on the bottom so to secure it. I had it tied with baling twine to the porch railing, but it was hard to put the cover over it. And unfortunately, the few bricks that he put on the bottom of it wasn't enough. So I put another brick on it, and it spilled out my turnips that I had started, the seeds, and my little tomato, pepper, and did I plant peppers? No, probably not. Tomato, tomatillo, and eggplant. Fortunately, the tomato tray survived. It just kind of landed like butter side up, thank goodness, on top of my onions that were growing in a bin. So I think for the most part, those are going to be okay. Unfortunately, I lost the order in which I planted things. So when things start to come up, I'm not going to know what they are. I'm going to start some melons and I think cucumbers and maybe green beans. I'm not sure if that's on my list. I need to look into that later today. Earlier today? I can't do that. Time doesn't go backwards. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, had a massive kale harvest. So I've shown you my overwintered kale. It was all starting to bolt. So last weekend I cut it all down and harvested all the leaves, and we have a lot of kale. Both Randy and I have been eating kale salad all week. I think sometimes twice, which, you know, it's good for the old digestive system and probably getting lots of the benefits from the dark leafy greens. So have plenty of kale left too, and we've even given some away. What else is going on? Oh, I wanted to give you a shoulder update. I went to visited the surgeon on Monday, and he is really pleased with the progress that I'm making. And I passed the rotator cuff test that he did, which is some resistance of, you know, like lifting and resisting and out and in, and I can't remember what else. Those are the main things. So he told me to carry on with physical therapy and stretching, so I am going to do that. And you saw that I was able to hold up like my yarn. So, and when I'm doing some of my exercises involve just lying on the bed and raising my arm over and kind of letting it drop behind me. I mean, when I first started that, I could only lift my arms like straight out so that it was very much within my field of view. Now my hand goes back so far that it's outside of my field of view unless I really move my head. So I'm making a ton of progress, which brings me to riding my horse, Odin. So I have been able to do that a little bit. I'll have some footage on here. This is probably going to be a long video, so I hope you have a lot of knitting or something or a project to work on. So I did a little bit of riding with just the bareback pad. I think I mentioned that. I'm feeling a lot more confident about being able to lift the saddle. So hopefully be able to test that out on Sunday with a friend who wants to go on a short ride. So I'll share the video with me riding Odin in the round pen and just talk about that probably at the end. So if you're tired of this or don't want to watch the horsemanship part, I'll see you next time on that. And then I have been doing some bicycle riding because it has been beautiful weather, and my shoulder has tolerated it. So I rode 5 miles, I think it was last Sunday, rode 4 miles on Monday, and then I rode 5 miles again yesterday. So not big distances. It's hilly around here though, so it's kind of slow going, and if I'm trying to ride during lunchtime, I really try to only take a half hour to do that. I don't have any bicycling footage yet. I just kind of keep forgetting, and I want to practice with bicycle footage. I know last summer I shared quite a bit of bicycle footage, and I hope to do that and get better at it this summer. That is everything that I have for this episode in terms of knitting and life stuff. So I'm going to leave that here and upload the video. I'm going to work a little bit. I have a little bit of work to do, and then I'll share the writing video. So again, hopefully you're getting a lot of crafting time in and are having a fabulous week, and I'll see you next time. Take care. So I thought I would narrate this part of the horsemanship. This is the April 2025 challenge for the Ryan Rose patrons, and the goal is to get the horse to move off the leg. This is my first ride since January when I hurt my shoulder. So I'm asking Odin to move off my right leg, so move to the left. And here I'm asking him to move off my left leg. He's still walking forward. What I am most thrilled about is that he is just being so good after having not ridden in such a long time. I don't know if you heard me say ouch when I was switching my stick from left to right, and the stick just supports my leg. And it looks like he was starting to move over a little bit. I think you can see it better from this side. And what you're looking for is the hind leg stretching under him. Oh, we're just circling, so sorry about that. And I'm just asking him to give to the bit a little bit. I ride with a fairly loose rein, and I'm switching hands again. So hopefully it's this one that you can start to see his left hind leg reaching under his tummy, I guess. Kind of almost crossing over his right leg, and we'll try it again on going in this direction. Well, I thought I was going to try and go on this direction. I am obviously just going over poles now. I don't like to drill him too much because I don't think it serves any purpose. I mean, he doesn't understand why we're doing this over and over again. So I just switch it up a little bit. There I'm asking, because you can see there is a nice crossover in that last couple steps. And there again, once he's warmed up a little bit, it's just easier to do this exercise. And what the purpose of this is just to help his kind of mobility. It's kind of yoga for horses, if you will. And there he's doing it again. He's doing a pretty good job. So I'm really happy with the way he's moving his body. And we'll just go over the poles again, just for something different. You can see I'm riding in a bareback pad because I haven't had the confidence to try to lift a saddle onto his back. It's just been too heavy for my shoulder. I'm feeling a lot stronger now, and we'll hopefully be able to test that out this weekend. You can see it's a gorgeous day, and I was just enjoying the sunshine, even though it's a little bit chilly. This was the beginning of the past week of sunshine. So I'm directing him into that box, and this is a side pass box that we have been working on from the ground, which is one of the reasons why he's been so good under saddle. Well, mounted, I should say, is because I have been doing this groundwork. And this is a sequence where we want to synchronize movement to either the right or the left. I'm asking him to go left, and I think he's a little bit confused about what I'm asking him. So we're going to try it again, get him set up again. And he does start to do it. And I have him facing that fence so he doesn't move forward. That his tendency is to move forward. But I think he gets confused. He's like, thinks I'm asking him to go forward and doesn't really understand. So there he goes. There you can see he's kind of synchronizing his feet, moving in that lateral direction. So this is a side pass, which is a lateral move, versus a leg yield, which is a forward and lateral move. So it's easy to understand why he would be confused when the first exercise we did was a forward and sideways move. So he thinks I'm asking him the same thing, and I'm not. And we're going to try it again. I'm trying it outside of that box because I'm wondering if he's feeling a little claustrophobic in there. For one thing, I have the mounting block in the way, so it seems like he's kind of getting it. It's just a matter of getting his feet organized. And now he's trying to go backwards, which that wasn't what the request was either. So he's trying all the things that are easier for him, and that's understandable. I would do that too. And listen to that beautiful Pacific wren singing his or her song. And going from right to left for Odin is harder than going from, no, I'm sorry, the other direction. Yeah, no, right to left is harder for him than going in the other direction. Although I tested that out on the ground the other day, and he did the right to left very easily, probably because we've been practicing. And going in the other direction was hard for him, which is usually his easy side. And I'm just asking him to do a turn on the haunches, so just moving his shoulders around his haunches. And then going back to something super easy for him, walking over some poles, give his brain a break, give his body a break. I may do this exercise again today when I get out there. Again, switching my stick from one side to the other to help support my leg. I mean, I don't use it to whack him with it. I just use it to kind of tap if he needs some extra understanding of what I'm asking, if he's not understanding what my leg means. Riding in a bareback pad can be challenging because there's no stirrups. And I know I tend to use stirrups for balance. But I grew up riding bareback, so riding a bareback pad I think is really good for balance on a very reliable horse. I tend not to do much more than walking these days. Yep. He was an awfully good boy, so I thought I would get off here. And I just take off his bareback pad and give him a little rub, even though I'm pretty confident he's going to roll, which you'll see that here in a moment. Give him another rub on the other side. Tell him what a good boy he is and how proud I am of him. Taking off the bridle. And that's the end of the writing segment. I have to admit, this is why I don't groom all that carefully. He rolls every single time. Yeah, hi buddy. Thank you. Releasing a lot of tension. Begging for cookies.